Hey everybody! So I'm Rachel and I'm here to give you my quick thoughts on The Incredibles 2. I've been doing these after a big movie that everyone's really looking forward to, doing these live streams. And so it's less a review and just sort of my overall sort of experience and thoughts, and a chance for, if anybody joins, to ask questions, and it'll keep it spoiler free. So I had a really cool experience to see not only Incredibles 2 on the IMAX, but to also see the first film on IMAX. And so that was really amazing. And I actually had never seen Incredibles on the big screen because the first movie came out when I was on my mission for my church. And so I couldn't see it. It was one of the first movies that I saw when I came back. My friends and family were trying to sort of ease me in to movies, and so that was one of the first ones. They're like, "You'll like The Incredibles. Watch The Incredibles," and I did like it very much. And so it was so cool to see it on the big screen tonight. And one of the things I really love about The Incredibles is I think that it does such a good job of showing how a real marriage works and showing conflict as part of marriage, but the way that I don't know, the way that they show that I think is very true and very, very well done. I also think that the idea of the whole family trying to be something that you're not, and the message of if everyone is special, then nobody is I think really, really interesting. You know, that if you think about a class of kids at school, and if there's one kid who's way ahead of everybody else, often the sort of the solution is to kind of make them work at the lower kids level, because it's just impossible for the teacher to teach to everyone's level. And and that's just unfortunate, but that's what happens a lot. And I thought the movie kind of captured that theme really well. And also just how miserable it is to be in a job and work environment, a life that feels inauthentic, that doesn't feel true to you, and how toxic that is for Bob. And it's also it's so beautiful. I love the animation. Particularly my favorite shot in the whole film, I think, is when there's that wall of fire, and you see Bob and or Mr. Incredible there with the fire, and it's that red on red. It looks so cool. Uh, and I think that Syndrome is a really interesting character. He's a really great villain because at the core of what he's doing is true, that is commendable, even, that he wants to make he's using his brain as his superpower to make his own skills and make his own inventions, and that's really good. And that is probably stronger than than these natural powers. But then he takes it to this dark place and uses it to kill supers and to get weapons to people who shouldn't have it. And so then he becomes a villain. But the core of him trying to show that brains over brawn is good. That's what makes him really interesting. And I like Jason Lee as the voice of Syndrome. He does a really good job. And so it's just a really, really delightful movie. It's funny, it's sweet, it's emotional. And so it had been 14 years since the first film. And of course, you have delights like Edna and Frozone and all of that in the first one that are just great. And so it had been 14 years, and I have actually enjoyed all of the Pixar sequels, some to more degrees than others. I enjoyed Finding Dory. I enjoyed Monsters University. I happen to think Monsters University is quite underrated. I think it actually is pretty bold for a movie for kids. But I think this. And then you have, of course, the Toy Story movies that have been really well received and really great. Those sequels, and now you have and Finding Dory, and the Cars sequels, which I obviously Cars 2 has problems, big problems, but I at least like the animation. I think Cars 2 is better than a lot of other animation from other studios, to be honest. But other people hate it. That's fine. I think it's watchable. And then Cars 3 I actually enjoyed quite a bit. So there you go. It's kind of a history with Pixar sequels. And it'd been so long that I was a little bit nervous. Are they going to be able to capture that? Is it going to? And we're so much more saturated with superheroes now superhero movies now, would it feel kind of tired? Would it feel, would it not be as appealing as it was back then when you didn't really have superhero movies very much, and MCU hadn't started, all that fun stuff. So all of that was kind of going into it. The trailers were underwhelming, and I thought it was confusing them trying to decide to start it right at the end of the previous film. All that stuff was I was feeling going into it, but I saw the original film first, which was amazing, and then went right into the second film. And I really enjoyed Incredibles 2. I thought it was so much fun, and so I try to avoid using the word fun in reviews because it's so kind of tired, but it really was a great time. It was a very well executed, a very well written script, I think. It's funny, it's sincere. It doesn't have like one of those like emotional wallops kind of things that you get in your Finding Dory or Toy Story 2 and 3. Those kind of things. Inside Out certainly had that emotional wallop. This doesn't have that. I don't think you'll be crying, but it has some sweet moments, that's for sure. And it certainly has a lot of laughs. And I think they did a really good job of honoring the characters of the original film. I was worried about Elastigirl taking on this more forward role, and that wouldn't feel authentic to her. But the way they kind of set it up I thought it worked because it's still illegal to be supers. And so Elastigirl is called on by this tech guru guy, and basically like she kind of needs to do it to support her family, and they feel like she'd be a better spokesperson, and the tech guru guy kind of convinces her by saying that he's going to use this as a way to stop this discrimination against the supers. And so you get to meet a whole bunch of new supers that you hadn't met in the first film, which was really fun. And there's one called The Void, and one called Bricks, and some different ones that were really good. And then this time, Bob is staying behind. Mr. Incredible is staying behind and taking care of the kids and Jack. And I think that any parent will really relate to what happens with Bob in his part of the movie, because just so many things are so stressful for him in taking care of even just little things like there's new math that Dash has to learn, and he's trying to figure out why did they change math, and that's really funny. And Violet's having some relationship issues with this boy that she had a crush on. And got a comment. It says, "I'm pumped for Incredibles 2, especially after your thoughts. That's awesome. You had a time of fun with it." Yeah, it was so fun. And then he is taking care of Jack, and of course we found out in the last movie that Jack has powers, and he has like all these powers, and so he has to try to figure all this out, which is very overwhelming. And you get a lot more Frozone in this one. He's really great. Samuel L. Jackson's so funny in the role, and I don't know if you get more time with Edna, but it's really great time with Edna. Very funny, very effective, really good. And you get to see sort of this. I just think parents will really be able to relate to all the struggles that both Bob has to face, and also that Elastigirl faces in wanting to be there for her kids, being away, all that dynamic of their relationship. I think it'll really feel true to any parents. But the cool thing is that it's not just the parents in this one. The kids all get kind of their moment to shine, where they have to solve things, and they need to figure things out, and they need to use their powers in creative ways. And so I think that kids will find it very empowering and very, very funny and sweet, and they'll really enjoy it. And of course, the animation is really great. There's a lot of really nice action that they do. It's faster paced. There's sort of a sparkle to a lot of things. There's sparkle to Elastigirl's outfit. Some of the other things that just made it, I think, a little bit more lush than the first film in a way. It was just great animation. I mean, my only real problem with the movie, and it's not really a problem, because I thought the villain was totally fine, and I don't really care about villains, but it was not as good as Syndrome. Like, there wasn't sort of this sort of thing to think about, like with Syndrome, where he wanted to prove that to prove brains over brawn, that he could be smarter and and create his own superpowers in a way. And so I think that he is a better, more interesting villain, but this one is perfectly serviceable and does the job, I think, just fine. And all the voice work is top notch, really effective. I was a little nervous in the trailers about the new voices for Dash and for Violet, but they did a very good job. Wasn't noticeable to me in the actual film. So good job. I think Michael Giacchino's score is really great. It's kind of a classic superhero score. I thought it was well paced. I never got bored. It's a little more I don't know. I'm not going to say it's less predictable or more predictable than the previous film, but I think that one, because it was an origin story, it had a more traditional narrative, and this is just a little bit, I would say, a little bit more creative with some of the things. You don't exactly know where it's going to be going, at least for me, and I enjoyed that. And yeah, it was funny, it was sweet, it was very well done in every way, and I can't wait to see it again. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely going to be one of my favorites of the year, I think. And the short before it, Bao, make sure you get there time to see the short, because it was adorable. Really, really sweet little short, I think, about this about this dumpling that comes alive. It was very cute. So I think I basically covered everything, unless there's any questions in the chat. I don't really see any. So yeah, so that's it. I highly recommend it. Give it my highest grade. And I don't know, like, I have to see it some more, but I don't know if it's better than Toy Story 2. But it's definitely one of the best of the Pixar sequels for sure. So that's for sure. I just have to kind of think about it, let it sit a little bit more, and see where I take it. But I loved it. I thought it was great. And like I said, I think it really has something for everyone. We'll be able to relate to so many of the characters, and we'll have laugh. And I don't think anybody will get bored. I think you'll really enjoy it. So there you go. That's all my thoughts coming out of Incredibles 2. Let me know what you think, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, and of the first one as well. And thanks so much, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.